Hi there, and welcome to the Concept 101 podcast. My name is Daniel.
Stefan.
And Jules.
We're three concept artists currently working in the film and games industry, as well as the organisers of the Concept 101 event in London. In today's episode, we'll mainly be discussing university versus self-taught. So I think a lot of what we'll be talking about today is probably our own personal university experiences, but also, the options that people have out there, what we think is the best method for actually getting into the industry, and also the maybe geographical differences that people face. Like if you're in Europe, there's obviously a lot less learning opportunities than in the States. So to start off with, where did you guys actually study and what did you study?
So I started studying in Switzerland, where I'm from. I moved in the UK when I was 19. In Switzerland, there's not really anything linked to becoming concept artist. So I was doing some evening courses for about 3 years, where I would go once per week in an art class and just learn stuff, fundamentals, that kind of things. I did also 2 years of live drawing once per week as well. And yeah, then I just kind of applied for Bournemouth University, which at the time was ranked as one of the best universities in the world to study animation, which from my knowledge at the time was the closest thing from concept art. Mm-hmm. And so I went to several open doors, and they were like, it's funny because one of the guys told me, don't go there if you want to do concept art.
Wait, someone told you to not
go there?
Yeah, one
teacher. Yeah. And also the people at Industry Workshop told me, don't go to uni if you want to do concept art. Anyway, but you have parents and also you want to do university because university is quite cool and fun. So I decided to go to Bournemouth, which, given my knowledge at the time, was a very good option. So yeah, I moved to the UK and the course was called Computer Animation, Art and Design. And what it had good is that I was learning 3D, UV, texturing, animation, some concept art as well. And yeah, just a very interesting package, which is useful for concept art, but is not enough, of course. So yeah, I studied there, and then I graduated. So it was like 3 years, and it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure if I would recommend it for concept artists, but I had a great time.
I'll go next. So I had a fairly substantial art education. I was very lucky in that when I was growing up, there was lots of art around me. Both my parents are architects, so they were always like very into art and letting me practice and, helping me buy the materials. So I'm very lucky in that way. And I first went to do a foundation degree at university. So that's a free degree that you can do in the UK where it's 1 year. So I did it in Bournemouth, where Jules studied, actually, not at the same university. They literally were across, there was like a parking lot dividing the two universities.
There's Bournemouth University, which is one I went to, and then there's Bournemouth Arts University.
Yeah. So that's where I went.
My one is better.
You know what? Sure.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Just joking.
Yeah, so I studied there for a year. I had a very general artistic education there, although at the time when I was there, I really did want to do concept art, but I didn't really have a clear idea of what it was. So I was working towards what I thought that was at the time. And yeah, that gave me a very broad artistic education. We did things like sculpting, fashion, drapery, photography, video editing, anything you can think of. That's kind of the point of a foundation. And then afterwards, I was trying to decide where I wanted to do my actual main degree. And there was a period of time where I thought maybe I'd go to art center. But ultimately it was like too far away, way too expensive. And also I think I wasn't good enough retrospectively. I think I was really confident, and you know what? That was great, but the confidence was not backed up by anything.
When you're young and you're surrounded by people which are non-artists and you're somewhat good for your age, that's when you think you're
the best,
insanely good, and actually you're insanely shit.
Yeah.
And it's funny to realize it.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually realized that I am the best. But anyway, no. So I had this kind of flight of fancy where I wanted to study concept art, and it just didn't really seem feasible, sadly, for all these reasons. And I checked out the concept art universities in the UK, including I think where Stefan ended up, and I didn't really think that I wanted to go to any of those either. So I ended up studying graphics communication design in London at St Martin's, and the reason was because I felt like I've always been I'm not necessarily risk averse, but I like to play the field a bit, and Central St. Martin's at the time was, I think, the number one art university in the world. And that really kind of appealed to me because I felt like, okay, well, I will have a good quality degree out of this university, which might help me get a job anyway. Do you know what I mean? And also, it was an interesting kind of curriculum they had. It was graphic design, it was film, it was a bit of animation, it was illustration, marketing.
Very broad.
Surprisingly broad. But it was great actually because retrospectively it let me do a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
That's useful.
Well, it was useful. It was also 3 years of convincing them that concept art was a real job, which ironically they've now added to the curriculum like literally the year after I left because like I proved to them that it was a thing, I guess. But yeah, that was kind of my education in broad strokes. Stefan?
Yeah. So I started to. So I also looked for different universities when I started to draw, and taking it more seriously. Initially, I wanted to do comic books, so I looked into comic book education, I guess. So there was a, I think, Kubrick's or something.
Kubrick.
I don't know. I think like there was one of the guys who was like very, very famous comic book artist that invented.
Kubrick,
the famous comic book artist.
No, but there's a guy. I'll look it
we'll
up.
look it up after.
But there was a guy with similar name, I think, and he was very, very famous comic book artist, and there was this school, and I thought, oh, maybe I can do comic books, and the more I looked into it, the more I was like, maybe that's not the right thing. I don't know. And then I've learned about concept art as I was, focusing on comic books and thinking maybe concept art is the thing. Well, as soon as I saw like the paintings that Feng Zhu was doing, I was really amazed by it. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing! I want to do this. So I was like, okay, let's focus on concept art. And I also learned about what was the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena? Yeah. Realized it was way too expensive, like 60 or 70K for a year. I think it was like 60K.
I think if you were coming from Europe, you'd end up spending nearly more than 300K
Insane.
for the whole
Insane.
education.
It was a lot of money.
It's also a lot of money when you compare it to how much did you spend in the UK? Like 27 grand for 3 years ish, right?
9K times, yeah.
9K for a year about.
This is three people who can't do maths, and we're all like repeating it back to each other just to double check. We're like 9K times 3.
And now, thanks to Brexit, it's 4K more.
Yeah. At least it's not 300.
It depends what it is dependent on what university. I think if you go to Cambridge, it's quite a bit more expensive.
Anyway, you were saying about your.
So I looked. I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going to art center. And I also looked into FZD because that felt like I could pay for it, like my parents could pay for it. But it was going to be like 1 year, and it seemed like the portfolios that people were getting out of it was really good. But it was only 1 year, and I wasn't sure if I want to just do 1 year. I feel like, yes, I can work really hard, but I thought
there's no accredited degree at the end of something like that either.
Yeah, because I remember many of these schools are like not recognized as like
universities,
big as universities are.
Yeah.
So I remember there was a big thing. It's like at least with universities, you have a degree and you do something which is
We can talk about it.
So my
we keep interrupting.
But my parents, they actually wanted. So no, actually, it's a good point because I forgot about this. The reason why I eventually went to Staffordshire University was also because my parents, they said, look, we don't really care what degree you get, but you have to have a degree because that's how my parents are, you have to go to uni and get a degree, and we will pay for it. They will obviously not for US, but they would pay for Staffordshire. And for everything, they paid for the uni, for my food, for my accommodation. Like I was like in a hotel, like I wasn't in a hotel, living in a hotel, but
Golden
it was
boy.
No, but it was like that. I was very lucky that they had the money, and if my parents, they worked their whole life to be able to say that, to be like, yes, I paid for my kids to do this because they didn't really get that.
It'd be bad if the sentence ended at I paid for my kids.
No, but I paid for my kids to go to university because that's something that they really appreciate. I went to Staffordshire University and I studied there for 3 years. I did concept art degree. The curriculum was pretty. It was like, so I think we had always very, very interesting assignments. I really liked the briefs. I always changed it up a little bit, and they were quite flexible on allowing me and my friends to do a little bit of differently how they set it up. And I ended up learning a lot on my own as well, on top of everything that we were doing, and doing probably 2 or 3 times the amount of work that they were asking to do, just because I wanted to learn, and I knew I had to improve and get better. And I wasn't really looking at we would do 20 thumbnails, and I was like, well, what if I feel that I need to do 50 thumbnails to get good, So I definitely didn't really approach it based off of like the random stuff that they set up, which is that they had to do it because it's university to set you some goals. I just was like, okay, I just need to do better and better and better, and that's what I focused on, no matter how many sketches or thumbnails or whatever I have to do. Yeah, so I think that's the rough explanation. Studied at Staffordshire. Definitely had to do a lot of self-taught.
Hey, that's the next thing. Stop reading ahead of the notes, Stefan.
Okay, Daniel.
So, how did you learn independently?
Wow, Daniel, such a smooth transition.
Thank you.
Damn.
I'm a professional.
Yeah.
Should I just keep
Yeah,
on
just
this?
keep
Go
going.
for it.
Yes,
I just wanted to have my
let's
bit
go.
in between.
All right. So, how did I learn independently? Well, I focused on some of the good online education that's out there. But I think I could have done better. I think if I retrospectively, I should have been learning from CGMA and do those a lot earlier, which is what Daniel recommended me eventually to do, and which is what I did at the end of my uni.
I thought you were doing those before we met.
No.
Oh, really?
I was just learning on my own, and
Only army camps first.
yeah. No, what we did is basically I followed a lot of the stuff what Feng Zhu was doing. I was learning a lot from the FZD stuff, and Alan as well a little bit. And what else was there? I'm sure there was some YouTube videos.
There's loads of great
there we
content.
go. Learn Squared as well. That's what I was doing.
Oh, really? Land Square?
Yes. So I was doing. So actually, there we go.
Our friends of the podcast, Learn Squared.
Yeah,
Big
let's
kisses.
go. Kisses and hugs. So Learn Squared. I did their JAMA course in the second half of my first year. The JAMA's course and Mache's course as well. And then those are the 2 ones that I basically done from Learn Squared, and I've learned a lot from them.
For me, I did a lot of similar stuff. So I did CGMA courses, which I was able to save up a bit of money for, which was great. CGMA is really good quality, as is Learn Squared. Slightly different format, obviously, because on CGMA you're actually being taught by somebody directly, and on Learn Squared you're watching video lessons which are recorded, right? So I really like having somebody to give direct feedback to me. Not that I'm giving feedback then. And then I watched schoolism courses as well, YouTube, really just anything I could get my hands on. I think part of that was being so disconnected from the industry for so many years, was that I was really just trying to cling to anything that give me any information whatsoever, because otherwise I was just completely aimless and just making stuff. There's a guy who does Riot Splash Arts who is really great, who I learned loads from. Ahmed El-Douri I learned loads from. Modern Day James was really cool. Feng Zhu Design School obviously is still so much of that information is incredibly invaluable. Even it's been up for 10 years now, right, or something.
It's crazy how YouTube got better and better with this knowledge now.
Yeah,
it's insane the amount of concept art knowledge there is on.
I think if you were learning now, you could literally
just YouTube.
go through Feng Zhu's course. I mean, it's such a good thing. I might go through that. Maybe that's my new thing. I'm gonna become that guy.
I just remembered. Sorry.
No worries.
Quickly, I feel like this is an important part as well. So, I also studied from books actually. So I did the Scott Robertson books, both of them, which were the How to Draw book and How to Render. I didn't finish the How to Render book, but I finished the How to Draw one, and highly recommend the How to Draw. Learn your perspective.
That is very good.
I should actually probably go through it again.
Maybe we should do a military style boot
Let's
camp
do it.
together.
Let's go. And then
I'm gonna stay out of this.
but the second thing that I also learned from was I started when there was the Level Up podcast, and then they also did a Level Up Google Hangouts. And
Cool.
I don't know if you've ever been, but shout out to these guys. They will probably never listen to this. Shout out to Nikolai Lebedev and Yuri Chemezov. These guys were like from some of the first few guys that I remember seeing being very, very good artists and being so like amazed. Like I entered the Google Hangout, I was like, these guys sharing their screen. I was like, this is insane work. How can I got access to talk to these people by just being here?
Yeah.
And they were just super nice. They were like, yeah, this is what you do. This is how you improve. And it like early on, getting into those kind of communities is what also
It's very
I feel like
helpful,
helped me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me I was very lucky to be introduced into industry events very, very early in my life. So I've been a helper at industry workshops for all of the events they did. So that was insane amount of knowledge I was getting once per year. Also insane and a very good way to get down to earth with my skills and what the industry standard was. I never was good enough all these years, but it was good to remember it. And then when I started university, I was doing almost like challenging myself to do like one drawing per day. I mean, one concept per day for like months and months. I couldn't miss a day. And after that, a lot of YouTube, a lot of online stuff, but most of it ended up being self-taught, which was a bit stupid. It would have been good to to have a bit more proper courses I could follow. Like, podcasts were good, but I didn't really do any CJMA. I didn't do any Learn Square, any like this until I finished university, where I was like, oh wow, that's how you actually learn, is just by doing these courses. So that was a very good one. I figured it out.
Can I segue?
Yeah, just one thing. And then also in between, I was trying to really find work experience while I was uni. So I did a lot of freelance where I thought could be useful, and also I did some internship as a concept artist. So first year of uni, in between first and second year, I found a studio in Switzerland, which was a mobile game, card game, and they kind of hired me as an intern to do like all the splash art. I mean, all the art for a game, which never came out. But it was like 2 months of work in the summer, which I would get up every morning, go to work, and like a real work-life balance. And I think I learned a lot from that. And then it was just similar to you guys, learning where I could find it.
Can I do my segue now?
Go for it.
Here's my segue. Here's my controversial statement. Okay, you listening? You listening good?
Okay.
Self-taught doesn't really exist, and I think it's actually a kind of harmful sentiment. The idea of
I mean, like, you are not.
No one is taught by themselves.
Yeah,
it's just one. And I think the reason that I say that, especially, and I feel like it can be kind of bad, is because it can often lead to people like kind of self-isolating, and believing they have to do everything themselves. Yeah. I personally can say for sure that the biggest part of my quote-unquote self-teaching was having mentors. People like Rhys Griffiths and Kevin Fleeman, who are like, I'm very happy to say, maybe they'll send me messages after being like, we're not friends actually, but I consider them my friends, were like absolutely, like, the patience that they had with me and the experience that they had was like fundamental to making me a like strong professional artist who was actually capable of doing professional work. And like, I really, sometimes one thing that annoys me when I meet people a little bit is this idea of like, people come up to me and I'll be talking about my own experiences and like how I became an artist and stuff, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's cool, but I was like, I'm self-taught.
Yeah, it's like I figured everything by myself.
And I actually almost find it like slightly insulting, because to me it like totally disregards all of the help along the way. Because even if you were to tell me like, hey, I never had a mentor, I never met anybody in the industry, and I still go into the industry, I'd say you're still not self-taught, because like everybody's got help You know, everyone's got help along the way, hopefully.
I think it's mostly like
even if you have people helping you buy courses, do you know what I mean? Like your parents or like however it may be. Like it's virtually impossible to be self-taught.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to like early on in the podcast to say like I really don't believe in the idea of it of self-taught is not about yourself. It's more about the connections and larger community you build to help teach yourself.
I guess self-taught artists, maybe the people think about self-taught when there's a lack of structure. University is a clear structure. Schools are a clear structure. Staying at home, studying something by yourself, but I mean is that without having a teacher in the room necessarily, there's a lack of structure, and people tend to go through the self-taught naming for that.
I would say also like it's just there are little differences in self-taught. I would say you can do self-taught really well sometimes. You can do it very badly as well. Some people, they just learn the right things right away and then they improve better than everyone else because they did the right decisions. Like they've learned perspective earlier, or they understood, like there's some of these things that they understood faster than someone else due to hearing like a random YouTube video and or having a mentor very early on. And I think that's also like a little, actually, I don't know, we are talking about like self-taught versus university. That's like maybe a negative of the self-taught aspect where there can be a drastic difference between someone being self-taught for 10 years and doing random shit and someone being self-taught for 1 year and being better than the guy who's been self-taught for 10 years.
It's like knowing how to learn, knowing which things to learn, when to learn them.
Yeah.
Something great about university is it just kind of takes you by the hand, and it also teaches you methodology.
Wait, can I do my next note?
Yes.
Let's go.
Is university a worthwhile investment? What do you think about university, Jules? You keep going ahead.
Oh, well, since you asked.
So what are the positives and negatives of university and self-taught? That's just going to be the rest of the podcast.
I would have never thought about this question.
Never thought about
Thank you.
I just wanted to help. Like you were saying, I didn't want you to self-teach this podcast for yourself. I wanted to guide you through it.
Nice.
It's just doing positive and negative.
I think having a structure and going through some different lectures and having a clear progress, is quite important because first of all, it makes it way easier. Like you don't, someone who's not very good at
drawing. Art? You're having a mind freeze, buddy.
Yeah. No, so someone who doesn't have too much like self-motivation or like self-structure is going to be great at university, because they're going to give them the context of learning and tasks to do. Also, you can just learn to have tasks and to have structure and to go forward.
So you're talking like someone who is not motivated and needs someone who is like kicking them up their ass.
I can't find the word. It's the word. It's not motivated. It's just self.
Disciplined.
Self-discipline. That's it.
Self-discipline. Yeah.
It's good for that.
I was definitely very self-disciplined to an unhealthy level.
Yeah. I mean, so one thing that I think is really important as well about this particular conversation about like university versus self-taught is money. Which is often overlooked, I think, by a lot of people. People talk about it like, you're like, with my unlimited money pool, you can get the best out of everything. And it's like, well, no, you can't. So I'm going to say this, and you guys can agree or disagree with me. But I think if you have the money to go to university, I think it is a very worthwhile investment because I think there are loads of benefits to just going to university, right? Mm-hmm. It helps you
talking any university right now.
Pretty much any university. It helps you learn new things, it broadens your horizons, you meet new people, you see different aspects of the world. You get to move outside of your comfort zone, to experience like different ways of life, people from all over the world, cultures and stuff like that. It's a really wonderful thing, especially in like a metropolitan city like London. However, if you don't have the money and you really are genuinely single-minded on getting a job in the industry and you can't invest the money into going to university, I might advise, if it's going to be like you're going to go into like serious debt to go into university, I would probably say it's better to try and be self-disciplined and learn at home. because at the end of the day, it can be a much more efficient route into actually getting into the industry and starting to make money, which I think is a very important aspect of this conversation.
I think if you're very self-disciplined, it's probably way faster to just teach at home, learn at home.
Yeah.
Right. But university, as you said, like just having a good time, seeing friends, having like the luxury of not stressing about anything else and just giving your assignments.
I think
It's like such a nice time, you know.
It's there was a podcast, I don't remember who said this on a podcast, but there was a podcast that I listened to, and I was also in this. I mean, I knew I had to go to uni because of, if you heard the previous episode, was it on the previous episode? Probably. You would know that my parents, they wanted me to pay. Maybe I said it already on this episode.
I don't know. Anyway, just keep
My
going.
parents were like, you have to get a degree, blah, blah. So I knew I was going to get a degree, but I also heard on a podcast where it was like, you want to get to experience university. You want to get to experience what it is like to have friends. And what it's like to have friends. Well, have friends in university.
Something I've never experienced.
I mean, also,
personally.
look, it was, I lived in Slovakia. I lived with my parents for a lot of the time, and then I just got to go to uni. I was by myself. Which
So
was
great to move countries.
Yeah, and so I moved to a different country. Daniel was like, well, you still moved to
I
a
moved
city.
away from my
Yeah, you moved away from your parents, which
Yeah.
is quite a cool experience. You get to become, it's like that little step towards being an adult. Because, just because you got a job in concept art and you still just live with your parents, doesn't mean that you're an adult. Being adult also means to know how to cook for yourself.
I think that is really important. Is like, when you're at university, like you have to. It's an opportunity to allow you to slowly grow up. First year of university, lots of people eat out of pizza boxes essentially.
Yeah,
but
you
by
go,
the time
you go out every night, you just have fun,
I never had.
Me
Sadly,
neither.
I did not do
Me
that. I went out and had a bit of fun, but then COVID happened and stuff. But anyway, like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it forces you to cook, to learn how to be sociable. And like one really important thing that I took away from university was like group projects. Like I had some nightmare group projects at university where I'm sure none of them are listening now, but like, there were people in groups that I was working who just weren't working, or who didn't want to cooperate, or, weren't willing to be team players. And I'm sure in some cases that was also me, because like I'm also a pain in the ass. Everybody can be, right? Especially me. Especially
You. Yeah.
Especially
I was gonna
me,
say it, but you said it first.
But I mean, learning how to work around those differences, seeing how, learning methods to run teams and cooperate, and learning that you're not always going to get your way. It's really invaluable stuff. And that is something that you just can't really get from being self-taught.
Mm-hmm. You get some human contact. You also get some deadlines.
Yeah.
You get lots of things that you don't get if you just, like if you don't do your deadlines, you're going to have a bad grade. And if you have enough bad grades, you fail.
Yeah.
And that's pretty bad to fail, right?
Yeah.
And if you're just self-taught, then you won't get that stress until you get a job, actually.
I think it's difficult for us to know what it would be like if we didn't do the university.
Well, we just be completely different people.
Yeah, but maybe it would be fun to like, I don't know, do you guys know anyone who actually like
Tom?
Yeah, but he's a different kind of
So
person.
TCK, who I'm sure he won't mind me talking about this, but he decided not to go to university, and he just did self-study for like a year and a half. So he did a foundation year, then he did self-study for a year and a half, and then he just got a job at Atom Hawk as, I want to say, an intern at first, and then a junior.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely possible for some people. And in fact, Tom,
And he's
when
still
I
a very
met
nice
him,
person, and like
Tom's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was one of the big reasons when I met him, because he was so amazingly good at art when I met him, and he was only, I think I met him when I was like 19 or 20. And I remember talking to him, and he had the Atom Hawk t-shirt on and stuff. And we were chatting, and he'd just given me a portfolio review. And we were both just like standing around, and we were like, oh, so what do you do? And we just started chatting and talking. He was telling me about his career and stuff. And he was like, yeah, so I've been at Atom Hawk for like a year and a half now. It's been great. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. So when did you start? And he was like, oh, when I was 17. And I was like, so how old are you now? And he was like, 19. I was like, oh my god, that's the same age as me. And I was
Insane,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it
Crazy.
was so crazy. But yeah, he's a perfect example of somebody who did it really well, and he was what inspired me to then do my period of like a year and a half to 2 years where I self-taught, which is what allowed me to get my job. I mean, for me at least, I'm sure this is the case for all of us, the best thing for me was university and self-teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have a job if I had just done what the university provided.
I think we probably owe our job more to the so-called self-teaching than to university.
yeah.
Myself included. Maybe you a bit. I
So,
don't know,
yeah, so I
because
had
we did
a-
concept arts university, so maybe it was more useful.
It was funny. Like first of all, I don't know if I could do what you guys did. That was one of the reasons why I also went for a concept art degree, because I think I can't really focus on too many things at once, and I would be like, I kind of knew that I wanted to do concept art, so I think it would be very difficult for me to do 3D, let's say, or
Yeah.
something that's totally unrelated to concept art, and then do concept art on the side, because I would be thinking every second I was doing the 3D that I'm wasting my time. Like that's just how kind of person I was. So I chose the concept art degree, and I didn't really care how good the teaching is going to be at the uni. I needed to be. It was still like Stefan was a nice university, and the teachers were nice and stuff like that. So I just needed to be a place where the university would allow me to learn by myself, which is what Stefan did. I went to another uni. I'm not gonna mention the names here, but I went to another uni for to see if I can get into it, and went for the interview there. And they basically said, I was like, oh yeah, what if I do concept art? And it was like, they did the 3D course, and they're like, well, we won't stop you from doing it. We won't help you, but we won't stop you. And I'm like, oh, so I might as well just stay at home. I mean, like, I didn't say it to them, but I was like, this is not even encouraging me to go to your uni. I went there because I knew that there were some people who did concept art who were pretty good, who finished it.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah. So eventually I went to Staff's.
Staffs, is that how you guys say it?
I think it's Staff's uni.
Staffs.
And also funny, like, my art director who hired me eventually, he used to hire a lot of people from Stafford University. So when it got to hiring me, it was this easy icebreaker where it was like, oh, you went to Stafford University. I hired a lot of people who are really great from this uni. Not concept artists, I don't think. Maybe concept artists, but as far as I'm aware, mostly just 3D artists. And yeah, they hired he hired a lot of people that he knew, and then
So do you reckon your uni helped you to get a job?
in that sense I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, I had one conversation with my director after that was hard.
Yeah.
I think it was like, because we understood each other so well, it was very, very good. So I still had another sets of interviews after that, but I pretty much knew.
Do you guys believe that concept art was understood in the university,
Not at my university
context?
no.
Yeah, no.
Because at my university I literally spent 3 years arguing that it should be included in the curriculum,
Yeah.
and that I should be able to do it as part of my coursework. And I mean, it's really crazy the way that a lot of the people at the university treated it. I got some particularly funny comments a few times from teachers telling me like, oh, but yeah, Daniel, concept art it doesn't count as like in the illustrative section of our course, so we can't let you do it. And I was like, well, it's literally illustration just for films. And they were like, no, it's not how it's not in the curriculum. And I was like, okay, well, I literally just said, I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I just like titled it something else. It was so ridiculous, some of the behavior. I think that's one of those things that's one of the definite negative sides of the university, is you can always run into tutors and people in academia who really just disagree with you for whatever reason. I mean, one really big problem I had at university was, and retrospectively it was okay, but I was meant to spend in my second year of university 1 year doing film. So 1 year, one term doing film, and then 2 terms doing illustration. And they messed me up. Like, I think I spent something like, I don't know what it was, but they moved it around loads so that I essentially spent more time doing film rather than illustration, and then they couldn't get me into an illustration class and blah, blah, blah. And, at the time I was like pretty furious, because I was like, I'm one of the students here who's really passionate about this. Lots of the other people on the course, like when I talk to them, they're telling me, "Oh, I'm just trying out the illustration pathway," and I was like, "Well, this is like what I want to do, and you're depriving me of it." You know?
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand of that, I think the fact that I spent so much time doing film stuff kind of helps my film work. Yeah, and you know, it's one of those things where did it directly contribute to making me a better concept artist? Probably not. But I think it's made me a more well-rounded artist with a greater variety of skills and understanding and knowledge and experience. And I think those are things that do, at the end of the day, make you a better concept artist. In terms of like raw skills, no, it didn't help. But in terms of other stuff, yes.
Global understanding and knowledge of different fields. Yeah, I mean, for my university, I think it probably was a bit better understood than yours because it was already an industry-focused university, right, in VFX. So they knew what a concept art was, but it was considered as a very unachievable thing. And it was like no one really believed it was even possible to be one.
Yeah.
And they would tell me...
They looked at, like, job offers. They're like, oh, that's fake.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was told many times. I mean, I had a few teachers. There was like one or two which were very supportive. And very, very kind, actually, that they knew what it was and they knew kind of the context and where I was coming from and that kind of stuff. But yeah, and it kind of just ended there. And it was like, it was always me as well trying to find a way to do concept art where I really wasn't supposed to do concept art. But I think they were, since I was showing motivation and since my grades were following very well, they kind of let me do it.
I think that's kind of the same with me.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they let you do that because like I went to concept art university, obviously, but to where you went is it's not the same, but it's almost as if you went to study maths and then you did concept art and you're saying
it's not
No, because it's still art.
Yeah, it's still art.
It's still art.
It's more like
it was obvious that they
also
don't...
it's not maths because this is like an expressive subject, right? And so it's not like there was a right answer to any of the work that we were making, you know. It was our, they would give us very broad briefs and then there was our kind of thing to just go and approach it as we would. So, you know, I usually, I made a lot of the projects work for me, which was really great. And my final project especially, I really went like balls to the walls. I think I did like 300 pages of coursework or something for my final project, just so that I could do all of the concept art I wanted to do and have justification for every single like random sketch that I put into the book. Because essentially my plan was, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a big portfolio project, like the portfolio project that will get me hired, hopefully. And I will do it as my final university project. And they weren't really that keen on it. And so the way that I did it was I said that rather than a concept art project, this was a pitch project for a TV show to do with a modern take on sci-fi or something. And then I went and found loads of cultural references to do with like problems in sci-fi and like the cultural impact of it and stuff like that. And then I wrote like vague scripts and then I used that as the jumping off point to say, well, in a pitch you have concept art. And then I did my portfolio that way.
That's very clever, yeah.
I did it in a really roundabout, contrived way. But once I did that, they were kind of like, oh, what the fuck? Okay. Because I kind of walked them into a corner a little bit of it. You know, every step that they approved of was one more step towards what I wanted to do.
And then at the end, you're like,
checkmate.
Concept card. Like, you know, like there's the card, and the last card you pull out is like concept art card, and like,
It really was like that though. I mean, and even, you know, during the summer holiday before that year started, I'd already started the project. I just didn't tell them. So my first few weeks where I was creating art, I was showing them art from like months ago. So yeah, I mean, am I an evil genius? Yes. Were they really overly obstructive to like my learning? Yes, as well. And that was a really big problem, I think, retrospectively. And I'm really happy that they've seemed to have fixed that, at least from like what I've seen of the university since I left. But yeah, I mean, that wasn't a particularly happy period for me, having to deal with all of that on top of the stress of trying to improve and become a better artist.
That's why I just went to do Stefan University to go.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like
That's what you see.
Yeah, I think Concept Art University, especially today, probably a much better choice.
But I mean, so when I was applying for universities, there just weren't that many. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think I think we can talk about this, right? Like in Europe, your options are much more limited than in the
Okay,
States.
so what are the options? What are the good options right now?
Well, I mean, New Edge and Focal Point, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
New Edge,
Is Escape Studios
But none
Concept
of
Arts
those
or
are-
Escape Studios is VFX.
VFX? Okay, yeah.
But New Edge isn't considered university, or
I think they might be accredited. It's like a 3-year course.
If you think
Just
about it
ask, you
now,
know.
I mean, I guess when you're young and you have parents that care about this, degree is important. But if you really think about it, the degree is not important.
Well, okay, you say that, but then there are advantages to having a degree. Like, for example, if you want to, emigrate somewhere, the degree
True,
is a
yeah, if you want to go
massive
to the
help.
US,
Yeah, if
you
you want
have
to move
to-
to
yeah.
the States, you need
Yeah.
a degree. So,
Also, I guess life is long. You might want to do something else later, and
Yeah.
this might be useful too.
yeah, having a
Yeah.
bachelor's is not a bad
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like, it's it can be very helpful for a lot of different reasons, not immediate to your art. You know?
Would you do it again?
I always have this mindset personally of, I'm happy with who I am now, and I would never want to change it. Like, I don't. There are things that, like, I think understandably, like, we all like regret in our lives, or like things like I could have done that better. But at the end of the day, like, if you're in a good, healthy place and you're happy with what, and I'm very happy with what I've achieved in my life so far. I feel like I've done really well, and I wouldn't change it for the world. There's things that it's like, I wish I could gone clubbing more at university or something. But if I'd gone clubbing more at university, I wouldn't be where I am, and I don't know how I would feel if that was the case.
I think all of us would do it again, right? Would you do it again as well, Stefan?
Staff University?
Yeah. Or would you
Um,
change?
No, because I met some great
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
the way
exactly.
I did it.
I think those kind of
But-
questions are a lot to do with where you end up.
Yeah,
if we were
true.
all living under a bridge right now,
Yeah.
we'd probably be going, yeah, I do it different.
I've got a next question coming up. So
Yeah.
I think we all agree that we do it again. Great experience, great time, and we all ended up doing what we like.
Can I guess the question?
I would
Guess it.
Is it, would you recommend it to other people?
Yes.
Yes.
Woo, let's shake
That
hands.
wasn't even on the notes.
Oh my god.
Congratulations.
So would you recommend? Would you recommend it to someone?
I would say what, to go to Staff University?
Yes.
To my university.
Would you be?
Okay, wait.
I'm-
Can I take this?
Or go to university.
Can I take this?
Yeah, take it.
Yeah. I would say there's a lot of different approaches. If you want to be a well-rounded person, then going to a concept art school specifically is probably not the best way to achieve that, right?
Talking about your university.
No, not even my university, but you would go and study art, but in a broader sense, right? You can go and study fine art and come out the other end with loads of the skills that will make you a great concept
Yeah,
artist.
for sure.
You'll have to do self-studying as well along the way, but you'll still get there. I think probably because of how obsessed I was with concept art at the time, if I was like, going into university now, I would probably be applying for somewhere like New Edge personally, because of, how great the learning opportunities are there. Are there? That I don't know how to say
They
that.
are
I
there.
do think they're not university though.
Well, I still think I would do it because it's like a longer course, and they have a really great hiring rate, and they really help people improve. And as somebody who never had any formalized education in art, beyond, so my university degree, when I say formalized education, I mean like formalized, like how to make art education. I had a lot of education on like what art was, and they would set briefs, but they would never teach you like how to draw. Do you know what I mean? Or how to paint. And I that's something that I feel like I will probably be spending like a lot of my 20s catching up with, almost, where like, if I have the money to, I would love to go to classes where I'd learn how to paint properly, because it's just a gap in my experience, And as much as I love teaching myself, I also would love to be taught by somebody who's more experienced, because it's more efficient that way. So, I think a lot of those schools like New Edge and Focal Point are amazing options, but they are going to, at the end of the day, they're going to make you a concept artist. And, I would say even if there's like a tiny bit of doubt in your brain that maybe you want to do something else in the field, there are probably other things that you can do which will make you a more well-rounded person, an artist.
Yeah.
So, in short, if you are super passionate about concept art, you would do New Edge, but
Yeah,
You
I
think
think
it can be-
retrospectively, I probably would have gone to New Edge if it was available to me at the time, but it wasn't. So
yeah, I think I would probably try to convince my parents. I had to get a degree, obviously, because that's what I wanted, and I think at the end, probably I would still do it because degree is quite useful for other things. It still is, as we said, to go to US and stuff like that. But sometimes I think about those people who go to New Edge and go like, they had all this amazing education. They had all these shortcuts.
I want to say though, it's not like going to a really good university automatically makes you a great artist. Like
Clearly
I don't
not.
think, I don't
Clearly
want
not.
to take away from like all of the people who go to that university or art center or any of these great universities and come out the other end as really brilliant artists because they work very, very, very hard to get there. I would say that they probably have to work slightly less hard than a lot of people who kind of came up when we were starting, because for us it was like almost entirely self-taught.
It's just
Self-taught
like,
in like very heavy quotations, but you know what I mean.
You know, it's like find this book in this whole library.
Yeah.
Good luck. Or
Here's the book.
here's the book.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the biggest difference.
You still need to read the book. You
Yeah,
still need
yeah.
to master it. You still need to study it. But yeah, I mean, all of my improvement, like I said before, it took me like 2 years roughly to go from amateur to professional artist,
Which
where
is
I was
very
getting
fast.
jobs. Right, but it was because the reason I was able to do it was because finally for the first time I had direction. And you know, it's
You
like
did the CGMA courses.
yeah, I did a lot of CGMA courses. I went out of my way to meet a lot of people.
Yeah,
I had
you mentioned a lot of
mentors
people
like
as well, yeah.
Tom and Kevin and Reese. And yeah, I did a lot of work. But like, yeah, it was because I finally had direction that I was able to actually achieve it. So, you know.
Also, you know, concept art is such a broad subject, and there's so many niche, there's so many different skills you need to have, and like 3D knowledge is almost a job, but it's also concept art.
Yeah.
And like paintings is a job and also concept art. And like, concept art has so many
Sketching,
things.
drafting.
Yeah, it's just so complex and so many skills that come together to be able to make imagery so quickly, or make good imagery, I guess, no matter the speed. Many universities you could go to are going to give you valuable skills for concept art. Although probably the only place you can find, the only place you can be and find all of these skills together
Exactly,
are concept art
school, yeah.
school or teaching yourself. But again, then it's a bit maybe harder to find knowledge fast or to go in the right direction.
I really think as well, like, I don't mean to belabor the point. I do think it comes down to money a lot of the time. You know, you have to question like what kind of financial hit you can take. And I think it's a really kind of, it's one of those awful things about society where like at 18 years old, you're asking a bunch of children like, yeah, so how much debt do you want to be in for a good chunk of your life? And I was very lucky like Stefan. I don't have any debt personally. But I mean, yeah, it's shit. And like, you know, if you can't go to university and you think, you know, you don't want that debt, then don't take it on. There are other ways to do it. However, I would say that at least if you go to university, you're kind of guaranteed something at the end. If you go and be self-taught, there are people that we know, like Tom, who did self-taught and they went from like amateur to really good. I mean, I've seen his drawings from before he started studying and like you wouldn't believe that they were by him. You know?
I want to see those.
Yeah. But
Yeah, me too.
you know, some people like him can do that. And then there's some people who can try, and 7 years down the line they still don't have a job. And that is a much bigger risk that you run from being self-taught.
Can we I just want to also quickly before we
go on.
as we're towards the end, so how about the people that you meet at university? So I think for you guys, you don't ever speak about other people that you did concept art with at university.
I made great friends. I mean, Jeff and Ethan.
Yeah, I have great friends
I
from
met
concept art.
my girlfriend at university as well. Yeah. She was doing another course, but she was also at university.
Okay.
So university was, I mean, one of my best friends, and my girlfriend I all met at university.
I have
And
loads of great friends
insane,
from
you know.
uni, but not concept art friends.
Yeah, and me either. Not
And
concept.
I
Did
think
you feel like you have had people? Did you at least feel like you had people around you who encouraged you? Because I feel like
Absolutely.
when you're self-taught at home, you don't unless you go like into those online chats or whatever, you don't really have people around you who are like at least a little bit motivating you, pushing you, which you do have it when you're.
I think
at uni.
that's what friends are for, right? Like, I mean, there was nobody at my university necessarily who was like, oh, Daniel, I really think you can push the color scheme on this concept or whatever. But there were people being like, when I said like, I want to improve this, and they would go, you can do it. And I think that is a really big thing. That is really encouraging to just have people who believe in you, even if like a lot of the time I don't think they quite understood what I was complaining about in my work, and they'd just be like, I don't get it, but I believe in you. Like I don't understand what you're complaining about. For sure.
At university, everyone is in the same boat in a way, and no matter what they do, it's just same boat. So you it's very easy to be motivated from that. Also, I want to just say, we all are very lucky to have very supportive parents.
Yes.
So financially, and also I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure. My parents told me like, my parents really are into art as well. My mom used to own an art gallery when she was younger as well. So they were always very open and supportive to the art path, right? And I think we're lucky, all of us, to do that. Because if my parents were like, no, you're not going to do art, you little shit, you're going to do maths, I probably would have not become a concept artist. Because when you're that young, you don't really, if you...
No, of course, yeah. I mean, that's just like, it's like part of the role of life or whatever you want to say. And I think it's important to acknowledge when you've had a good go of it, because I mean, at least in my opinion, like it's part of the reason why I do so much, like, or I try and do quite a lot of teaching, because I'm aware that like it was like through certain like very lucky circumstances, even like just through the people that I met who mentored me, like that's why I was able to get to where I am. So I try and, I think we all do the event obviously as well, but it's part of like trying to give back to the community and do stuff to benefit people in the same way that we were benefited. We all got to go to it. In fact, we're coming to the end now. We probably need to wrap up, but just to say, like, we all started doing the event, and the conversation that started it was, we all kind of got our jobs and met the people that we work with and our friends and our colleagues at events, and then they stopped because of COVID, and then there was nothing. And that was literally the whole reason behind bringing Concept 101 together, because we wanted to help other people have the same opportunities
just
that we had.
Create meetings and create places where people can just
help each other out,
be
friends,
meet, know about concept art, learn about concept art. And
okay, final decree: university, yay or nay?
University, yay for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes if you have the money to do it without going into horrible debt.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah as well.
And I think a caveat for all of us is you probably also have to do self-taught no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing self-taught, you got to do extra self-taught on top of that self-taught. Self-teaching?
If you can afford to go to universities, pick your university well, knowing which skill you need to do your job.
Yeah.
If there's not that many skills taught, maybe go to another university. But if you go to university, you're going to have a great time. You're going to grow as a you're going to grow as a person for sure at university.
Yeah.
And you're going to come out a bigger person, I think. And most likely you're not going to be good enough to be a concept artist without doing stuff on the side. And if I never did stuff on the side, I would not be a concept artist.
Yeah. And get yourself a mentor. You can.
Yeah, or 3 mentors like me.
Yeah,
that's what I needed to get good enough was 3 people.
And if you ever wonder how to do it, just try to message them online. Don't be over like that person that messages every 2 seconds.
Message Stefan.
Don't.
If you're listening to this podcast, message Stefan.
I never had anyone.
His
phone number is
his address is.
Yeah.
Never had anyone. I think reached out. I think I had some people asking questions, but I don't go. They don't go like, can you teach me?
Well, now they will.
Senpai.
We'll put Stefan's
Is it
phone
senpai or
number.
sensei? I don't know.
You can do both, I think.
Yeah. Great.
We'll be putting Senpai Stefan's address in the description.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up for today. Hopefully that was informative. If you are considering whether to go to university or take a different route. We really hope you enjoyed listening. And if you want more, please feel free to subscribe and like. And if you're listening on Spotify, to follow. We release episodes every 2 weeks, and if you want any more additional information about the podcast or the event, be sure to check out our Instagram, linked in the description below. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.